Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Axis Asia. Coming up, nuclear executives in Japan are cleared of negligence in the only criminal case tied to the Fukushima disaster. The bosses allegedly ignored warnings over the risk of tsunamis. And tattoos in Japan are often associated with the criminal network, the Yakuza, but hosting the Rugby World Cup has challenged notions of body ink in the country. And large and in charge, this is the world's biggest restaurant. We'll find out what it's like dining and working in China's Westlake Eatery. Well, 8 years after the Fukushima disaster in Japan, a court acquitted 3 former nuclear executives of professional negligence. It was the only criminal case related to the 2011 disaster. The triple reactor meltdown has left areas near the plant uninhabitable and forced more than 160,000 people to evacuate. Yuka Roye has more.
They wanted TEPCO leaders to be criminally held to account. Outside a Tokyo courthouse, dozens of Fukushima evacuees cried foul of a no guilty verdict handed to 3 former executives.
We cannot understand it. We're not satisfied. How would you feel if your house today were taken away from you?
We must not leave a shameful legacy to our children and future generations. We will keep fighting.
The 3 men were accused of ignoring a warning about the possibility of high waves hitting the Fukushima nuclear power plant. In March 2011, a massive tsunami triggered by a magnitude 9 earthquake knocked out reactor cooling systems, resulting in a triple meltdown. TEPCO is hoping to start removing molten fuel rods within 2 years. The cooling process leaves 200 tons of highly radioactive water every day. More than 1 million tons are stored in tanks at the site, and space is running out. In early September, the then Environment Minister said there would be no choice but to dump tens of thousands of tons of contaminated water into the Pacific Ocean, leaving the government in damage control as neighboring South Korea raised concern.
In case when it is discharged into ocean, management of Fukushima contaminated water is no longer Japan's domestic problem, but a grave international issue that can affect the whole global marine environment.
Remarks made by a former member of cabinet were expressed as his personal opinion. In fact, the governmental subcommittee has not reached any concrete conclusion.
8.5 years on, around a quarter of the more than 160,000 people who were forced to evacuate are still living outside the region. Decommissioning the stricken reactors will take at least 3 more decades to complete.
And staying in Japan, the host of this year's Rugby World Cup, organizers had asked players to cover up their tattoos when not competing. While body ink can be a means of displaying individuality or cultural heritage, many in the country associate it with the Yakuza. Justin McCurry reports from Tokyo.
It's not hard to find signs in Japan prohibiting people with tattoos from using public facilities, from swimming pools and gyms to onsen, hot springs and public baths. Traditionally, body ink has been the preserve of the Yakuza, Japan's large network of crime syndicates. Despite their connection with criminality, tattoos are tolerated at this public bath in Tokyo. Here's a typical Yakuza tattoo.
Yakuza members often come here in groups, and that can be quite scary for other users. So I ask people with tattoos to come alone or in pairs, no more than that. But everyone is welcome here, whether they have tattoos or not.
A number of Japan's famed hot spring resorts have decided to relax their ban on tattoos during the Rugby World Cup. Some, for instance, require people with inked bodies to use their facilities at certain times of the day. The change of heart is an attempt to accommodate the 400,000 foreign fans expected in Japan to watch the tournament, many of whom sport tattoos. A few of the players in this expat rugby team have tattoos, including Will, a US soldier.
This is a Fijian tattoo. I usually keep it covered. It's part of the rugby culture, actually, because of New Zealand and Australia and Fiji and Samoa and Tonga. A lot of those island cultures where rugby is very strong have tattoos.
I'm proud of my tattoo, so I don't feel like hiding it. I'm careful, but on the rugby field, it will remain visible.
Watching from the stands, a rarity, a Japanese player with a tattoo.
Among the older generations, elderly people, having a tattoo may be a problem, but my generation views it differently. Tattoos can be seen as fashionable.
Players taking part in the World Cup won't have to hide their body art during matches, but they're being encouraged to cover up during training sessions and other places away from the pitch. Most agree it's a small price to pay to keep on the right side of their Japanese hosts.
Now, a recent survey suggests that dozens of leopards roaming Mumbai could be saving human lives. It found that the wild cats were helping control the stray dog population, a source of rabies, which causes hundreds of deaths per year. Still, many residents are worried, and there have been some reports of people being killed. Catherine Bennett has the story.
In India, seeing a leopard on CCTV has become common. Here, one stalks a supermarket car park. This one is in the courtyard of a building. Or here, where one walks between parked cars. Leopards are being seen more and more in Mumbai, India's financial capital, as they move closer to urban areas in search of food. Normally, leopards don't prey on humans, but in the last 2 years, attacks have tripled to around 6 a year. A leopard killed this girl while she was playing outside her home.
I still can't look at this photo without crying, so I keep it hidden. When I see it, it makes me think of my daughter.
She was only 3.5 years old.
The neighbours heard a noise. We thought that something had fallen, but it was my daughter running out of here. We wanted to save her, but we couldn't.
Leopards mostly eat stray dogs and sometimes pets. This dog was attacked by a leopard in the foyer of a building. There's not much the authorities can do. These patrolling officers work with the forest department.
We're heading to the north of the city because a few days ago a leopard was spotted there. People are scared because they've seen it a lot.
Their job is to find wild animals that have made their way into the town. Monkeys, snakes, and of course, leopards.
We just saw a leopard right here. We turned the lights on and it ran away.
This terrified family has also seen the leopard, and it's not the first time.
There, can you see where I'm pointing? I've already seen leopards 2 or 3 times at night.
Mumbai used to be an enormous jungle. Now it has become one of the biggest cities on Earth, with a population of 20 million. Leopards' habitats have shrunk because of urban expansion, making it unsurprising that they come into contact with humans. A territorial war that's directly linked to India's overpopulation. Every year, the number of inhabitants in Mumbai grows by 500,000. Leopards and other wildlife try to survive in a 100 square kilometre habitat, but that space is rapidly dwindling.
Almost 20 years ago, a Chinese woman needed $10,000 to open her restaurant. Today, she's a millionaire. Her Westlake eatery is said to be the biggest restaurant in the world, with 3 tons of ingredients arriving every single day. Nadia Sharbi digs in.
A huge courtyard welcomes you to an equally grand edifice. The inspiration for this design is no less than Beijing's Forbidden City. This is the Westlake restaurant, one of the biggest in the world. Open year-round, it boasts a staff of 500 to serve up to 5,000 customers a day.
Where are my ingredients? Come on, quick, hurry up. Go and add some chili pepper.
Clocking 10 years on the job, Zhang Yongping heads one of the establishment's 5 kitchens, where the workforce is kept on its toes.
We have far more customers than other restaurants, so you'd assume that handling staff would be far more complicated. But luckily, we're united and dutiful.
Orders are transmitted via loudspeaker before being sent up to the 25 dining halls and 100 or so private spaces. No less than 3 tons of ingredients are delivered here every day. 400 kilos of fish, 200 chickens, and bags full of chili peppers. Sao Hei-jun keeps track of it all in her notebook.
I spend 4 to 5 hours every day on deliveries. I organise everything by category and subcategory. I write down the quantities and send all the information up to the finance department, where they settle the bills.
It takes an army of waiters and waitresses to serve up such mind-boggling quantities of food. For an average of 500 euros per month, staff work 6 days a week in a never-ending and well-oiled choreography of dishes. At around 30 euros per head, customers come from all over the province to get a taste.
This restaurant is really very different from other restaurants. The food is delicious and we've eaten a lot.
At the head of this establishment, but always far away from the bustle, is owner Qin Minzu.
Every day I pray for my business, my employees, but also my clients, because it's a huge responsibility.
This former teacher made her debut in the food industry in the 80s, as China was opening up to the free market economy. Today, this Communist Party member has become a millionaire, and she's very proud of her success.
The restaurant grew and developed along with the population's lifestyle and resources. In the early 60s, life was very hard in China, but the situation improved and demand for food just kept rising.
Qin's restaurant has also become the go-to place for celebrations, from weddings to births and birthdays. 3 functions like this one are organized on the premises every day.
In my day, weddings were far more low-key, less showy. This type of event was an exception.
The Westlake restaurant remains exceptional as a success story that turns an annual profit of 40 million euros.
Well, that's it for this edition. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned to France 24.
Keep up to date on the latest from the Middle East. We bring you political, economic, and cultural events from the region in this weekly Middle Eastern program.
Middle East Matters, presented by Sanam Chantier on France 24 and France24.com.